Recruiting is important, and you probably know that. The question is, why do you deal with your recruiters the way you do, or let's say in the way I often see in organizations? There's a certain effect of which most organizations do not seem to be either knowledgeable of, or they simply are not aware of the fact that this effect even exists. Hello and welcome, this time in a very different circumstance. I'm in New York City at the moment. I'm here usually once, twice, sometimes up to 4 times a year. So greetings from across the pond. When we now talk about recruiting, often you say, yeah, this is HR work, right? That's not for me. So let them just do their stuff. They do like recruiting on the side. I think some people have full-time recruiters. However, the question often is, why do you treat them the way you do? And there is a significant issue with what is happening there at the moment. And we are going to talk about that. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode means that we're going to talk about why your recruiters are crucially important. And when you now think, hey, they're crucially important because we need talent, yeah, well, that's not the only take you should have. I am now in New York City, and last week we had a bit of a rainy day on one day. And what happened was I decided to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I go there every time I'm in New York City. I usually visit three or four museums when I'm on a New York City trip. Big museum fan, different kinds of museums, everything from art to technology, everything that's available across the whole scale. So the situation was we went to the Metropolitan Museum, and usually this is a pretty safe bet. You get your tickets online, you go in, everything is well from there. However, this time it was slightly different. So why did we go there on that day? That day was rather cold, was rather bit misty, bit rainy, roughly 7 degrees Celsius. So not too warm. Went out with a jacket, and of course you have to check in your jacket when you are at the Metropolitan Museum because you do not want to carry it around in the museum. What happened there? First, I saw a huge queue when you check in your jacket. Okay, here are the news. Weather reports are available up front. But I just thought maybe just many visitors are here today because due to the bad weather, they're doing something inside. One of the most world famous museums, you can expect there's a queue. So we queue for about half an hour only to find out that only 1/3 of all spots for taking jackets or checking in jackets are actually busy with people working there. 2/3 were empty. And I wonder why. Well, anyway, when I saw this, I already handed in my jacket. Reasonably rude person there. Reasonably rude person there. And so we went to the museum. Amazing museum. Absolutely fantastic experience. There are certain aspects I see every single time, and there are other aspects where I say they are new or they change. And this time was absolutely fascinating to see the European paintings exhibition. So when you are here, be sure to take a look at that. Absolutely fantastic. The question now is, how do we end this visit? Because we have a fantastic day. We're in the museum for 6, 7, 8 hours. We have lunch there. Everything is absolutely brilliant, and now we leave. And when we leave, we see the same big queue. So first, I know that the day was probably busy, but second, I know that also staff in New York City is available flexibly even at short notice. So obviously, no one from management cared. We queued for more than half an hour to get our jacket back, but that was not all. When I approached the person, and by the way, I was there with a friend, and he had the same experience. He went to one person. They said, "Oh, you're not at B. You're at A. You have to go to A." Well, I don't remember where I checked in my jacket. I didn't even know this is relevant. You have an electronic system. You probably could just take it out of the B section or the A section. No, okay. So they sent him away. Me in the same rude way. You're not B. You're G. So I went to G. A guy was just checking in a jacket there. Looked at me and says, word by word, "What do you want?" Like, may I have my jacket back? I am, and then I told him my number. I said, I'm busy. I'm just busy checking in this. I am just waiting, answering your question. I didn't say that you have to like. And before I could even answer, I'm not dropping this now because you want your jacket. I didn't ask you to do so. And I can tell you when customer service is so bad that even someone from a European perspective would say that's straightforward rude, it is probably on US standards below 0 out of 10. So I waited there. The person then got me my jacket, and with no words, I left. So my friend and I, on the way then outside to grab a bit of food in a diner, the main topic after an amazing day at the museum, the main topic was how rude the staff at the cloakroom was. And here you see what the problem is. There is an effect which is called the primacy-recency effect. And the primacy-recency effect means that people remember most, by the way, out of anything. If it's a list of things, it's a movie, or if it's an experience, people remember most what happened when the whole thing started and what happened at the end. Beginning and end is what people remember the most. That is why when you have professionally booked holidays, people take very much care of the day when you arrive must be fantastic and the day when you leave must be fantastic as well. Hopefully the experience in between is as well, because otherwise that's not going to help you. But the beginning and the end are especially remarkable. You probably know these when you go. I don't know if you do package holidays because I don't. But when you, for example, have an amazing holiday and on the last day, the bus is delayed by 4 hours and the plane is delayed by 3 hours and everything goes wrong, you remember that. You massively remember and basically already say, I was really relaxed, but that is already gone on my way back home now. So you see here, we have a couple of issues. We have a problem with the primacy recency effect. So first, of course, we have to say the circumstances. I often see that recruiters are put in the job by saying, here's a list of questions, here are the candidates, go for it. There's no professional interviewing training, there's no professional communication training, there's no conflict management, escalation, de-escalation technique, nothing. People are just thrown into it. So they are basically left in the rain. So when the circumstances already are bad, you should not be surprised that you do not win talent because, newsflash, your recruiters are the first face people see. And I give you the very first point where you can be really obnoxious with people when someone says, oh, you applied here? Yeah, that's cool. I saw that you put in your LinkedIn, but you need to fill in all the different positions you were working in the last 48 years manually again. And the reason is our system needs that. So you have to abate our software problems, right? So please do that. Absolutely obnoxious. If anyone says anything near that, you should not be surprised that you are losing talent left, right, and center. And also, when people don't know how to communicate, by the way, they probably haven't learned it. As any other skill, communication gets learned. You need to learn it. So the qualification here is that you need to teach people how to do recruiting, interviewing, communication, etc. professionally. Just giving them a PDF and saying good luck from here and you will figure out the system on the go is not how anything works. And by the way, if you treat your recruiters badly, their motivation is low. And when their motivation is low, surprise, surprise, they are not going to treat the candidates well who are applying for a job in your organization. So be aware that your motivation is that their motivation is always kept up. It is often a leadership issue why recruiters are demotivated. You need to be aware of the fact that when your recruiters are demotivated, they are the first face that people see, and they are the last face they see before the job begins. And when they say, from the beginning, it was really obnoxious, but I really want to work for this organization, so I'll make it bearable. And when they say the end was also really annoying, very, very technical, very, very bureaucracy, very, very everything annoying, then people will say, this organization, I will go on Glassdoor and give them 3 stars out of 5 on a good day and 1 star if I'm less happy with them. So you shouldn't be surprised that Glassdoor.com or Kununu, which is the German equivalent of that, the German-speaking equivalent of Glassdoor, looks like the massacre it often looks like, where people say either leadership failure, recruiting failure, or both. From ghosting to being rude to having absolutely nonsensical processes in place, all of that drains the motivation of your recruiters because they know that the process is not effective and not efficient. Change it. The quicker, the better. The question is, how do you implement it right now? The implementation. First, of course, professionalism needs to be learned. You need to qualify your people no matter how much experience they have. There's a good reason why many larger organizations have an onboarding week. And when you do not participate in the onboarding week, you cannot start working. So the onboarding week is crucially important, must be followed. After that, there's an important aspect. You need to have a continuous piece of education, any kind of coaching, mentoring, whatever it is. But people need to be continuously reminded and updated on what is the actual level of science we have at the moment in customer service. If you have people out there who are rude and they say, yeah, this is just the way they are. If that's your approach to talent acquisition, I wish you good luck for the future. Even in a more easy market, which we might have for the next couple of months or even for a year or two, even then, rudeness puts people off. And anyone who is qualified has different aspects where they say, I can work for this company or that company or this company. And you know what? I'm not working for the rude one. So here you see the continuity is extremely important. And now it's important that you put everything into action. When you say, oh, we have all these amazing goals, we want to have a training program, we want to have this, we want to have that, ongoing and learning and whatnot. Also, by the way, oh yeah, we have lots of stress at the moment because the economy is a bit tight, so we just do it later. Later meaning most likely never. Or what comes out of that is, and I can't stress this often enough, is like a 30-minute online class where people say, yeah, a YouTube video will tell me more about customer service. So very important is you need to get interaction. If you put these actions in, because let's face it, I was to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and my main piece of memory, after an amazing museum experience, the main piece of memory is still days after that dominated by how bad was the beginning and the end. And that is the primacy recency effect. Put things in action as we discussed it here today, and your recruiting will be way better than any competitor's one. And you will get the talent that you actually deserve and also want to have in your organization. I wish you all the best doing so. And when you now say, well, I think I have a couple of questions here, feel free to contact me anytime. So when you watch me on YouTube right now, feel free to leave a like here. Thank you very much for doing so. Subscribe to my channel. That's also very nice. And feel free to leave a comment, of course. If you now say, hey, I'm listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, feel free to leave a review here, 5 stars. Thank you very much for doing so. We put a lot of effort into this. So there's lots of research, design, and everything. We put a lot of effort into this, so you get the news information every single week for now 6 years straight. We now are facing more than 1,000 episodes in the German and English language in 6 years' time. So we offer all of that for free. Feel free to leave a review. Thank you very much for 5 stars. And of course, recommend the channel, either the YouTube channel or the Apple Podcast, Spotify channel on um, any channel, basically friends, colleagues, anywhere. I'm looking forward to hearing from any one of you to recommend it. And of course, when you now say, hey, do you have something daily? Yes, we do even have that. We have YouTube Shorts, daily leadership and organizational development recruiting tips. So it really pays off on YouTube not only to put the bell in there, but also to and not only to subscribe to the channel, but also put the bell in there. The bell tells you get a short notification that you can see when everything new is happening right there. And of course, you can also follow me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you now say, hey, what do you have to offer? Feel free to go to my website, nb-networks.biz. So you see, if you now need someone, a professional trainer, speaker, coach, consultant, mentor, project intro manager, feel free to get in touch. By the way, my email address, nb@nb-networks.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from you there. You can either ask something very specific or can just have general chat. This is open to absolutely anyone, so I'm looking forward to hearing from any one of you. And of course, you can always, when you now say, hey, do we have live sessions? Yes, we have live sessions. You only can access them when you go for the leadership letter. When you go to expert.nb-networks.com, as soon as you're in there, you sign up for it. You receive one email every Wednesday morning, and no worries, it's going to be 100% content, no advertising. There's an ad-free guarantee. 100% content, ad-free guarantee. I'm looking forward to welcoming you on the list here. And by the way, in every leadership letter, we give you the date and the time and the access link for our next live session. We have one live session basically every week. Basically every month. So I'm looking forward to seeing you with the next one. The next one, last one was excellent. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next one. And of course, feel free to follow me on social media. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect properly. Don't do the follow thing. Connect with me properly. And of course, follow me on Instagram. Like me on Facebook, or then just sign up for the YouTube channel, and then we take it from there. I'm looking forward to being in contact with you. And of course, when you now say, should we put everything into action? Yes, you should, because the most important thing is what I always tell people at the very end of each and every session. Apply, apply, apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you've heard, you will see the positive aspects that you obviously want to see in your organization. I wish you all the best doing so. And at the end of this podcast, as well as at the end of the video cast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.